The grand hall of Shadowmere Keep thrummed with barely contained violence, though not a single blade had been drawn. Yet, Celine Hart pressed herself against the cold stone pillar, trying to become invisible among the crowd of servants forced to witness the cleansing ceremony. Her fingers found Nora's smaller hand and squeezed gently. At 13, her daughter was too young to see what was about to happen, but the new laws demanded every soul in the territory attend. "Eyes forward, little star," Selene whispered, using her daughter's childhood nickname. "It will be over soon." But she knew that was a lie. Nothing would be over after today. It would only begin. At the center of the vast hall stood the Moonfire throne, carved from a single block of white crystal that hadn't glowed in 3 generations. Not since the last true Luna had died, taking the Pack's blessing with her. Now it sat like a monument to their decline, beautiful but lifeless, while their territory crumbled and rival packs circled like vultures. Lord Cedric Moran strutted before the throne, his ceremonial armor catching the torchlight. The High Enforcer's scarred face twisted with satisfaction as he addressed the assembled crowd. "Behold," Cedric announced, his voice echoing off the vaulted ceiling, "those who would poison our bloodline with weakness." 3 figures knelt in iron chains before the throne platform. 2 were elderly healers from the mountain villages, accused of using unnatural arts to cure the blood fever that had ravaged the outer settlements. The third, Celine's breath caught. The third prisoner was massive even on his knees, his dark hair hanging in matted strands that couldn't hide the proud set of his shoulders. Unlike the others who kept their heads bowed, he stared straight ahead at something beyond the throne, beyond the hall, as if he could see through stone and timber to the freedom waiting outside. "The Wanderer," someone whispered behind Celine, "caught at the borders, refusing to declare his pack allegiance." "Probably a rogue," another responded, "or worse, a Shadowclaw spy." But Celine had seen rogues before, broken wolves cast out from their packs. This man, Wolf, radiated power despite his chains. The way he held himself, the subtle tension in his muscles that spoke of barely leashed violence, the calculating gleam in his eyes as they tracked every guard's movement. This was no rogue. This was an alpha. "The healers will face trial by moonrise," Cedric continued, pacing before the prisoners like a predator savoring its prey. "But this one," he kicked the chained man's shoulder, forcing him to sway but not fall. "This one refuses even to speak his name. The penalty for such defiance is death." Nora's hand tightened in Celine's, and she noticed her daughter's skin felt unusually warm, almost feverish, but not with illness. With something else entirely, something that made the air around her shimmer slightly. "That's not fair, Mama," Nora whispered. "He hasn't done anything wrong." "Shh," Celine warned, but her daughter's words echoed her own thoughts. The unknown prisoner's gaze suddenly shifted, scanning the crowd until it landed on them. Celine's heart stopped. His eyes were silver, pure liquid moonlight given form. Those eyes held hers for one endless moment, and she saw something flash through them. Recognition? Warning? Something deeper that made her pulse quicken in ways she didn't understand? Then his expression shuddered, and he looked away. However, Cedric's voice turned sly, drawing everyone's attention back to him. "Our absent King Tavian, in his infinite wisdom, has decreed that any condemned may choose trial by throne." A gasp rippled through the crowd. Trial by throne, an ancient rite that hadn't been invoked in decades. The condemned would touch the Moonfire throne, and if deemed worthy, it would spare them. If not, Celine had heard the stories. unworthy wolves who touched the throne were consumed by white fire from within, their ashes scattered before they could even scream. "Which of you chooses?" Cedric taunted the prisoners. The elderly healers shook their heads frantically. Better to face a normal trial than certain death. But the silver-eyed prisoner lifted his head, and when he spoke, his voice was deep and rough from disuse. "I choose the throne." The hall erupted in shocked whispers. Cedric's scarred face split into a vicious grin. "So be it." Guards hauled the prisoner to his feet, and Selene noticed how they struggled despite outnumbering him 4-1. They forced him up the crystal steps to the throne's platform, but when they tried to push him forward, he shrugged them off with such ease that several stumbled backward. He approached the throne under his own power, each step deliberate and unhurried, as if he were walking to his coronation rather than his execution. "Stop!" The voice cracked like thunder through the hall. Every head turned toward the main doors as they burst open, revealing a figure in traveling clothes. As the newcomer strode forward, pushing back his hood, Selene heard the crowd's collective intake of breath. King Tavian Locke had returned. He was younger than Selene had expected, perhaps 30 winters, with dark hair that held subtle hints of silver at the temples. But it was his presence that commanded attention. Raw alpha power that made even Cedric step back instinctively. His eyes, a deep amber that seemed to hold flecks of gold in the torchlight, fixed on the scene before him with barely contained fury. "Release him," Tavian commanded. Cedric's jaw clenched. "My king, this man refused to—" "I said release him." The growl beneath the words made several wolves bare their throats in submission. As the guards scrambled to unlock the prisoner's chains, Tavian climbed the throne platform. His gaze swept the crowd, and when it passed over Selene, she felt the weight of it like a physical touch, assessing, calculating, then dismissing as he moved on. "Trial by throne," he said, voice carrying to every corner of the hall. An ancient rite perverted into an execution method. He turned to Cedric. "Tell me, High Enforcer, how many have survived the trial in your care?" Cedric's silence was answer enough. "The throne chooses," Tavian continued, "but not through death. It has been sleeping because we have forgotten what it truly seeks." He gestured to the prisoner, now free of his chains. "You, approach." The silver-eyed man rubbed his raw wrists but didn't move. "With respect, Your Majesty, I've had enough of your throne's judgment." Tavian's lips quirked in what might have been amusement. "Then perhaps someone else would demonstrate." His gaze moved through the crowd deliberately, as if searching for something specific. Or someone. Before Selene could process what was happening, the king's attention fixed on her like a lodestone finding north. "You there, the woman by the third pillar." Every eye in the hall turned to her. Selene's heart hammered against her ribs. "Me?" "Yes. Come forward." "Mama, no," Nora whispered, her grip tightening desperately. The warmth from her daughter's hand was almost burning now, but Cedric was already moving through the crowd toward them, his expression predatory. "Refusing a direct royal command is treason." Selene squeezed Nora's hand once more, feeling that strange heat pulse between them, then released it. On trembling legs, she made her way through the parting crowd. Each step felt like walking through deep snow, her body fighting against the instinct to run. When she reached the platform, Tavian extended his hand to help her up. His touch was warm, almost burning, and she jerked back instinctively. "The throne has slept for 3 generations," Tavian said, loud enough for all to hear. "Some say it waits for royal blood. Others believe it needs a sacrifice." His amber gaze held hers with an intensity that made her breath catch. But I believe it simply waits for someone with the courage to wake it. Celine stood before the massive crystal throne, her reflection fractured across its surface into 1,000 versions of herself. This close, she could see veins of silver running through the white stone like frozen lightning. Ancient runes she couldn't read spiraled along its arms and back, seeming to shift and change when she wasn't looking directly at them. "I just touch it?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "If you choose," Tavian replied, "the choice must be freely made." Celine looked back at Nora in the crowd, her daughter's face pale with fear but also glowing with that strange inner light that seemed stronger now. Then, at the silver-eyed prisoner who watched her with an unreadable expression. Finally at Cedric, whose scarred face promised retribution regardless of what happened here. She had no choice. She never really did. Celine reached out and placed her palm flat against the throne's arm. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. The crystal was cold, lifeless under her touch. Then the world exploded into silver fire. Light erupted from the throne, not the consuming white fire of legend, but something else entirely. Moonfire, silver and soft and impossibly bright. It raced through the crystal veins, turning the entire throne into a beacon that made everyone shield their eyes. But Selene couldn't look away. The fire didn't burn. Instead, it sang through her blood, awakening something that had always been there, sleeping beneath her skin. Images flooded her mind, wolves running beneath the full moon, a woman with her face wearing a crown of stars, battles fought and won, love that transcended death itself, and something vast stirring in the deepest forests, ancient beyond measure. And through it all, a voice, not heard but felt, ancient and feminine and achingly familiar. "Luna," the throne whispered, "you have finally come home." The moonfire died as suddenly as it had erupted, leaving Celine gasping on her knees before the throne. The hall had gone deathly silent. She could hear her own heartbeat thundering in her ears, could feel the echo of that ancient voice still reverberating through her bones. "Luna." She tried to stand, but her legs wouldn't cooperate. The world tilted dangerously, and she would have fallen if strong hands hadn't caught her arms. She looked up to find the silver-eyed prisoner supporting her, his chains gone, his expression no longer unreadable but sharp, with an intensity that made her breath catch. This close, she could smell him. Forest rain and iron, mixed with something wild that made instincts she didn't know she had stir restlessly within her. "Don't touch her." Cedric's snarl cut through the silence. The prisoner ignored him completely, helping Celine to her feet with surprising gentleness. "Enough." King Tavian's voice held absolute authority. "The throne has spoken." He approached Celine slowly, as one might approach a spooked animal. When he was close enough, he dropped to one knee. The Alpha King, kneeling before a nobody from the servant quarter. The gesture sent shockwaves through the crowd. "Show me your wrist," he said quietly. Celine's brows furrowed. "My wrist? Please." She extended her left arm, and gasps erupted throughout the hall. There, wrapped around her wrist like an elegant tattoo, was a mark she'd never seen before. A crescent moon entwined with silver flames, glowing faintly with residual moonfire. "The Luna mark," someone whispered in awe. "She bears the Luna mark." "Impossible," Cedric spat, pushing forward through the stunned crowd. "She's not even pack nobility. Her father was a stableman, her mother a seamstress. This must be some trick." The throne pulsed once with silver light, and Cedric stumbled backward as if struck by an invisible hand. Tavian rose, his attention never leaving Seleni's face. The throne recognizes what bloodline politics have forgotten. The Luna isn't chosen by birth or breeding. She's chosen by the moon itself. This is ridiculous, Cedric protested, though he kept his distance from the still glowing throne. We can't accept some unmarked servant as unmarked? The silver-eyed prisoner spoke for the second time that day, his voice carrying dangerous amusement. Can none of you smell it? She's been hiding it, suppressing it. But the throne has awakened what was always there. Selene stared at him. I don't understand. I've never shifted. I can't be. Can't you? Tavian interrupted gently. Have you never felt the moon's pull? Never sensed things you shouldn't? Never healed faster than you should? The questions hit like physical blows. The night she'd stood at her window, aching to run. The way she always knew when someone was lying. The cuts and bruises that vanished overnight, forcing her to hide her hands from suspicious eyes. Mama? Nora had pushed through the crowd, her young face fierce with determination. Cedric moved to block her, but the girl ducked under his arm with uncanny grace that no fully human child should possess. Don't touch my daughter, Selena warned, and something in her voice made Cedric freeze. It wasn't quite human, that warning. It held an edge of growl that shouldn't have been possible from her throat. Nora reached her mother's side, chin raised defiantly. My mother is no servant. She's a healer. She's helped half the people in this room when the pack physicians wouldn't soil their hands with common blood. A healer? Tavian's interest sharpened visibly. That explains much. Healing gifts often run strongest in suppressed wolves. I'm not, Selene began, but her denial died as the mark on her wrist flared with heat. Not painful, but insistent, as if the Moonfire itself was calling her a liar. The silver-eyed prisoner stepped closer and she caught that wild scent again, wilderness and storm. Stop fighting it, he said quietly for her ears alone. The awakening has begun. Denying it will only make it harder. And what would you know about it? She shot back. His lips curved in a smile that was all wolf. More than you might think, little Luna. Before she could respond, a commotion erupted near the main doors. Guards rushed in, their faces grim with urgency. Your Majesty, the lead guard panted. The Shadowclaw pack. They've crossed the border. A full war party, moving fast. They'll be here within the hour. The hall erupted in panic. The Shadowclaw pack had been circling for months, waiting for a sign of weakness. And what could be weaker than a newly returned king and a Luna who didn't even know she was a wolf? Clear the hall, Tavian commanded. Warriors to the walls, everyone else to the inner keep. And her? Cedric demanded, pointing at Selene. You can't seriously mean to... She comes with me, Tavian said. The Luna must be protected. I'm not going anywhere without my daughter, Selene said firmly, her voice carrying new authority she didn't know she possessed. Of course not. Tavian's expression softened. Both of you. With me. Now. As they moved toward the throne room's private exit, the silver-eyed prisoner fell into step beside them. Cedric moved to protest, but Tavian silenced him with a look that could have frozen flame. You freed him, Cedric said through gritted teeth. You don't even know who he is. Don't I? Tavian glanced at the prisoner. Kieran Wulfric, Alpha of the Northern Wastes pack, reported dead 3 months ago when his territory fell to rogues. The prisoner, Kieran, inclined his head slightly. Not dead. Just displaced. And you came here why? Tavian asked as they walked quickly through the stone corridors. Following rumors, Kieran replied, his silver gaze flickering to Celine. Stories of a throne that would wake only for the true Luna. Seems I arrived just in time. They reached a heavy oak door marked with ancient protection runes. Tavian pressed his palm to the center rune, and the door swung open to reveal a circular chamber dominated by a massive war table covered in detailed maps. Nora, stay close, Selena instructed. But her daughter was already examining the maps with keen interest. They're coming from 3 directions, Nora observed, tracing the marked positions with one finger. They mean to surround us. Tavian raised an eyebrow. Clever girl. She reads everything she can find, Selene said, pride creeping into her voice despite the danger. Military histories are her favorite. A howl echoed from outside, long, threatening, and far too close. They're early, Kieran growled, moving to the window. And that's not Shadowclaw. Tavian joined him, his expression darkening. Ferals. Someone's driving them ahead of the main force. Ferals? Selene asked. Wolves who've lost themselves to the beast, Tavian explained grimly. No humanity left, just hunger and rage. They're using them to test our defenses. Pain suddenly lanced through Celine's body like lightning. She doubled over, gasping, as fire raced along her bones. The mark on her wrist blazed with silver light, and she could feel something inside her trying to claw its way out. Mama! Nora reached for her, but Kieran pulled the girl back. Don't touch her, he warned. Not during the first shift. First shift? Celine gasped. No, I can't. I'm not. Her bones began to crack, reshape. Agony beyond description flooded every nerve, and she screamed. But the sound that emerged wasn't human. It was the howl of a wolf. The shift stopped as suddenly as it had begun, leaving Celine trembling on the chamber floor. Her bones ached as if they'd been shattered and incorrectly reassembled, and the taste of copper filled her mouth. She hadn't fully transformed. She could feel her human shape intact, but something fundamental had changed. Mama? Nora's voice seemed to come from very far away. Celine pushed herself up on shaking arms, and the world exploded into sensation. She could smell everything. Nora's lavender soap, the fierce sweat of the guards outside, the ink and aged parchment of the maps, and underneath it all, 3 distinct wolf scents that made her newly awakened instincts categorize immediately. King, Alpha, Pack. The partial shift, Tavian said quietly, wonder coloring his tone. I've never seen anyone survive it on their first attempt. Kieran knelt beside her, his silver eyes intensely focused as they examined her. Look at me, he commanded, and the alpha power in his voice was unmistakable. Selena's head snapped up against her will, and she heard Tavian's sharp intake of breath. In the polished silver of Kieran's eyes, she could see her own reflection, and her eyes were glowing pure gold. Impossible, Tavian breathed. Golden eyes are legend. The last Luna with golden eyes was Seraphina the Uniter, Kieran finished. 300 years ago, the one who bound all the packs together against the human hunters. A violent crash shook the tower. Stone dust rained from the ceiling as another impact followed, then another. The Ferals had reached the keep. The wards won't hold them for long, Tavian said, moving to arm himself. We need to move to the inner sanctum. No, Selene said, and was surprised by the authority in her own voice. Both alphas turned to her, and she could feel their wolves responding to something in her tone. Running won't solve this. The Shadowclaw pack is coming because they sense weakness. Show them fear now, and they'll never stop coming. Mama, Nora said carefully, you're growling. Celine realized she was a low, continuous rumble that seemed to originate from somewhere deeper than her human throat should allow. She tried to stop, but the sound only intensified as another crash shook the tower. "She's right," Kieran said suddenly. "The Luna's right. We make our stand here." "She can barely stand, let alone fight," Tavian protested. His words were cut off as the chamber door exploded inward. 3 ferals burst through, massive wolves with matted fur and eyes gone rabid red. They moved wrong, twitchy and aggressive, all instinct and no strategy. Tavian and Kieran shifted instantly, their transformations fluid and practiced. Where men had stood, 2 enormous wolves now faced the ferals, Tavian's coat midnight black, Kieran's silver white. But the ferals weren't focused on the alphas, their rabid gazes fixed on Celine, and she understood with horrible clarity. They could smell what she was, the newly awakened Luna, vulnerable and untrained. The perfect target. The largest feral lunged. Time slowed. Celine saw death coming in those snapping jaws, knew she couldn't dodge, couldn't shift, couldn't. No! Power erupted from the mark on her wrist. Moonfire, silver and incandescent, burst from her in a wave that sent the feral flying backward. It hit the wall with a crack that definitely broke bones, but impossibly it got back up, shaking its head and snarling. "The Moonfire doesn't completely affect them," she gasped. "They're too far gone to—" The feral lunged again, but this time Nora stepped in front of her mother. The 13-year-old girl raised her hand, and silver light, smaller than Celine's but unmistakably Moonfire, sparked from her palm. "Stay away from her," Nora commanded with fierce determination. The feral actually paused, head tilting in confusion, as if recognizing something in the girl's power it had long forgotten. That moment of hesitation was all Kieran needed. His silver form blurred across the room, taking the feral down in a move so swift Celine barely saw it happen. Tavian handled the second feral with equal efficiency, but the third and largest circled them, smart enough to keep its distance. Its red eyes calculated, measured, and Celine realized with cold certainty that this one wasn't completely gone. Someone was controlling it. "Behind you!" Nora screamed. Celine spun to find Cedric in the doorway, but wrong. His eyes held the same rabid red as the ferals, and dark veins spread beneath his skin like poison. "Did you think I'd let some nobody servant become Luna?" he snarled, his form beginning to shift but stopping halfway, caught in a grotesque combination of man and wolf. "I've served this pack for 20 years. I've bled for it. The throne should have chosen me." "The throne doesn't choose based on service," Tavian said, having shifted back to human form. "It chooses based on worth." "Worth?" Cedric laughed, an unhinged sound that made Celine's skin crawl. She hid what she was her entire life, denied her wolf, her heritage. How is that worthy? The accusation hit like a physical blow because it was true. Celine had hidden, had suppressed, had denied everything that she now felt singing through her blood. Because she chose to protect rather than pursue power, Kieran said, also human again, moving to flank Cedric. Every healer in the territory knows her name. She helped without asking for payment or recognition. "I've been hiding it better than even you, Mama," Nora suddenly said, Moonfire dancing around her fingers. "Since I was 7. But when I saw you in danger, I couldn't let them hurt you. Just like you couldn't let them hurt him." She nodded toward Kieran. Cedric lunged with inhuman speed, but this time Nora was ready. Moonfire poured from her in waves, hitting Cedric mid-leap. This time it burned. He screamed, crashing to the floor as the dark veins under his skin sparked and smoked. You were taking wolfsbane, Kieran said with sudden understanding. Corrupting yourself to resist the pack bonds, to hide your scent. That's why the Moonfire affects you. You've poisoned your own wolf. Cedric writhed on the floor, his form shifting unstably between human and wolf, aging decades in seconds as the corrupted wolfsbane consumed him from within. With a final, rattling breath, he went still. A horn sounded from the walls, long, clear, and triumphant. Our horn, Tavian said, moving to the window. The ferals are retreating, and the Shadowclaw war party... He paused. They're pulling back. At the tree line, a massive black wolf sat watching, then howled once, mournful and respectful, before vanishing into the forest. Their alpha knows, Tavian said softly. The throne woke. The Luna has returned. The game has changed. As warmth spread through Seleni's chest, the mark on her wrist suddenly burned ice cold. Images flashed through her mind. Wolves fighting, blood on snow, Tavian's amber eyes going dark as poison spread through his veins, and something massive stirring in the ancient forests. A vision. The Luna's gift included prophecy. We need to prepare, she gasped, gripping the edge of the table for support. This isn't over. Someone else is coming. Someone worse. The mark pulsed once, as if in confirmation. The War Council assembled at dawn, but Selene had been awake for hours, standing on the tower balcony as the first light painted the mountain silver. The mark on her wrist hadn't stopped burning since the vision, a constant reminder of what was coming. You should rest. Kieran's voice came from behind her. She didn't startle. Her newly awakened senses had detected his approach long before he spoke. That distinctive scent of wilderness and steel. Can't sleep, she admitted. Every time I close my eyes, I see more fragments. Death, betrayal, poison. She turned to face him. Why are you still here? Your pack needs you. His silver eyes held something she couldn't quite read. My pack is gone. Scattered or dead. The rogues made sure of that. He moved to stand beside her, his presence oddly comforting. Besides, the Moon Council will convene soon. They'll want to verify the Luna's awakening. The Moon Council? 5 ancient alphas who govern pack law across all territories. When they learned the throne woke, he trailed off, but she heard what he didn't say. Politics, power plays, challenges to her legitimacy. I never asked for this, Selene said quietly. The best leaders never do. His expression softened. Your daughter is remarkable, by the way. Moonfire at her age? That's unheard of. She mentioned she's been hiding it since she was 7. Pride warmed Selene's chest. Apparently better than I ever did, although not from everyone. She gave him a pointed look. You knew what I was the moment you saw me in the throne room? Your scent, he admitted. Suppressed wolves smell like lightning before it strikes. Tavian knew, too. That's why he really called you forward. Before she could respond, urgent footsteps echoed up the stairs. Tavian appeared, his usual composure cracked with urgency. We have a problem, he said, without preamble. Scouts report movement in the eastern passages. Not wolves, humans, armed with silver and wolfsbane. Selene's blood chilled. Hunters? Worse. Tavian's jaw clenched. The Order of the Silver Crown. They call themselves purifiers. They believe wolves are an abomination that must be cleansed from the earth. But the treaties, Kieran began, mean nothing to zealots, Tavian interrupted. And their timing isn't coincidental. Someone told them about the Luna's awakening. The mark on Selene's wrist flared, and another vision crashed through her mind. Warriors in silver armor, a woman with violet eyes leading them, and She gasped. Nora in chains, Moonfire being drained from her into strange crystalline vessels. "They're not coming for me," she said, gripping the balcony rail as the vision faded. "They want Nora. They want the Moonfire itself." Both alphas went rigid. "That's impossible," Tavian said. "Moonfire can't be extracted." "Unless you have a young wolf who hasn't fully bonded with their power yet," Kieran finished grimly. "Ancient texts mention it. The Order tried it centuries ago, believing they could use our own power against us." A scream shattered the morning air. They ran to find the training yard in chaos. Master Corvus lay unconscious, and 3 figures in black surrounded Nora, who stood with Moonfire crackling weakly around her hands. "Stand down, little wolf," one figure said, producing a silver net that sparked with unnatural energy. Celine didn't remember shifting. Between one heartbeat and the next, she went from woman to wolf. A form she'd never taken before, but that felt as natural as breathing. Her wolf was smaller than the alphas but remarkable, pure white shot through with veins of silver, as if Moonfire had been woven into her very fur. Her golden eyes blazed as she intercepted the net, her jaws tearing through the spelled silver like paper. More figures emerged, too many. Their leader stepped forward, a woman with those distinctive violet eyes from her vision. "I am Sarah Vane of the Order. Give us the girl, and we'll leave your territory in peace." Selene shifted back, pushing Nora behind her. "You want my daughter? Come and take her." Sarah raised a hand, trying to drain Selene's Moonfire. But instead of weakening, the mark blazed with defiant light. The Moonfire didn't drain. It exploded outward in a silver wave that sent the Order members flying. "Impossible," Sarah gasped. "You're newly awakened. You shouldn't have such control." "She's not alone," Tavian said, arriving with guards. "The treaties protect humans from wolves," Sarah said, struggling to her feet. "They say nothing about protecting abominations who wield unnatural fire." "Moonfire isn't unnatural," Kieran countered. "It's the oldest magic in existence." A new voice interrupted. "The Order forgets its place." An elderly woman emerged from the keep, silver-haired with ancient eyes, power radiating from her like heat from a forge. "Elder Maeve?" Tavian bowed. Maeve Corin, eldest of the Moon Council, studied the scene before focusing on Sarah. "You were permitted to exist to maintain balance, not to hunt children." Her gaze shifted to Selene. "Show me the mark." Selene extended her wrist. Maeve traced the Moonfire mark with one gnarled finger, and warmth spread up Selene's arm. "Not just a Luna," Maeve murmured. "A Luna Prime, one who can awaken the gift in others." Her ancient eyes found Selene's. "Your daughter is proof. The Moonfire breeds true." "This changes nothing," Sarah spat, but she was already retreating with her people. "The Order has long memories. We'll be watching." After they left, Maeve turned grave. "Call the packs. All of them. The Luna must be presented before the full moon, 3 days hence." "Your visions. You've seen what's coming." Selene nodded. "War. But not just with the Order." "Something ancient stirs in the deep forests," Maeve said ominously. "Something that's been waiting for a Luna to return. The throne's awakening was just the beginning. The real test comes when you must choose between love and duty." Another vision flickered. Tavian and Kieran facing each other with bared teeth, herself standing between them, and Nora gone. "Mama?" Her daughter's voice pulled her back. "What did you see?" Selene forced a smile. "Nothing we can't handle, little star." But as she met Kieran's silver gaze over Nora's head, she saw her lie reflected there. He knew. Somehow, he always knew. 3 days passed in a blur of preparation. The full moon rose like a silver eye over Shadowmere Keep, and with it came the packs. Hundreds of wolves poured through the gates, storm riders from the eastern mountains, river runners from the southern deltas, even the mysterious night walkers from the northern wastes, whose territory bordered Kieran's fallen lands. Celine stood at her chamber window, adjusting the ceremonial dress for the 100th time. The silver fabric seemed to capture moonlight itself, making her glow softly. "You're nervous," Nora observed from where she sat, practicing making small orbs of moonfire dance between her fingers. "Terrified," Selene corrected. "In an hour, I have to stand before every alpha in the territory and prove I'm worthy of being Luna." "The throne already chose you," Nora said simply. A knock interrupted them. Kieran entered, wearing formal alpha attire, black leather and silver clasps that marked him as pack royalty despite his displaced status. The way he looked at her made her wolf stir restlessly. "I need to speak with your mother privately," he told Nora. Her daughter fled with 2 knowing eyes, closing the door with exaggerated care. Alone with Kieran, Celine became acutely aware of everything: his scent, the tension that always hummed between them. "Any alpha can challenge you tonight through combat," Kieran explained. "But you can choose champions, alphas who fight in your name. It creates an intimate pack bond." "How intimate?" she asked. Instead of answering with words, he reached out slowly and touched the mark on her wrist. The moment his skin met hers, the world exploded into sensation. She could feel his wolf, wild and powerful and utterly focused on her. She could feel his emotions, desire mixed with honor, possessiveness tempered by respect, and underneath it all, something that felt dangerously close to. She jerked her hand back, gasping. "That's just from touch," Kieran said, his voice rough. "A full bond would be deeper. You'd feel both of us, Tavian and me, all the time. Our emotions, our thoughts if we're not careful." "Both of you?" Her voice came out breathier than intended. "The Luna can have multiple champion bonds. It's how she maintains connection to all the packs." He stepped back, giving her space. "But I won't lie to you, Selene. What I feel for you, it's not just about protecting the Luna. You have a choice. You've always had a choice." Before she could respond, Tavian entered, resplendent in royal alpha attire, his amber eyes taking in the scene with careful neutrality. "It's time," he said simply. The great hall was packed with wolves in both forms, the energy electric with anticipation and skepticism. Elder Maeve stood before the throne, which pulsed with soft moonfire. "Who speaks for her?" "I do," Tavian said firmly. "As do I," Kieran added, causing murmurs through the crowd. "Let any who would challenge step forward." A massive, scarred alpha emerged. "Magnus Ironwood of the Mountain Fangs. I challenge the legitimacy of this Luna. She hid from her wolf for over 30 years. I demand trial by combat. She faces me herself, or forfeits the throne's blessing." The crowd erupted, but Selene stepped forward. "I accept." Magnus shifted into a massive gray wolf, circling predatorily. Selene reached for her wolf. Nothing. Panic clawed at her throat as Magnus lunged. She dodged, but his claws caught her shoulder, drawing blood. The pain sparked her wolf to life, not in shift, but in raw power. Moonfire erupted, sending Magnus flying. "Trust your wolf," Maeve had said. Finally, the shift came. Liquid silver, seamless as breathing. Her white and silver wolf danced around Magnus's brutal strikes with grace and intelligence. When he lunged for her throat, she met him head-on with moonfire blazing. Magnus fell unconscious but alive. "The Luna shows mercy," she announced, shifting back, but only once. Howls of approval erupted. Then a Shadow Claw representative stepped forward. "Alpha Darius invites you to neutral grounds at dawn. He offers a hostage to ensure safe passage." A young woman emerged with violet eyes. "Lyra Vane, I've abandoned the Order to serve the Shadow Claw. My mother leads the Order, and I have information about her plans you need to hear." The mark burned with warning, but Celine agreed. "Tomorrow, then. Dawn at the neutral grounds." As the crowd dispersed, Kieran leaned close. "This is what you saw, isn't it? In your visions?" Selene nodded, dread pooling in her stomach. Tomorrow's dawn would begin the prophecy's true unfolding. Dawn came wrapped in mist, the neutral grounds between territories shrouded in an otherworldly haze. Selene stood at the border with Tavian on her right, Kieran on her left, and elite warriors behind them. Shapes emerged from the mist. Darius Shadowclaw, massive and scarred with eyes like polished obsidian. But it was the woman beside him that made Selene's world tilt. "Hello, sister," the woman said. Selene's breath caught. "Ilara? You died? The fever took you 20 years ago." "The fever took the weak human girl I was." Ilara Hart, no. Ilara Shadowclaw now replied. "Darius saved me, made me what I was meant to be." Her eyes held no warmth. "I've been watching you hide your true nature while real wolves fought and died." "You fed him information," Tavian realized. "For years," Ilara confirmed. "Every weakness, every blind spot." Darius stepped forward. "Simple offer. Selene renounces her claim as Luna. I unite the packs under Shadowclaw rule. In exchange, I guarantee her safety and her daughters." "You're working with the Order," Kieran stated. Lyra laughed bitterly. "My mother thinks she's using the Shadowclaw. She has no idea she's being played." "Your answer?" Darius demanded. "No," Selene said firmly. "Then you've chosen war." Ilara moved faster than possible, shifting mid-leap into a wolf with fur so black it seemed to absorb light. She targeted Kieran. They collided with violent force. Tavian moved to help, but Darius blocked his path. Elder Maeve emerged from the mist with 4 other council members, ancient alphas whose power made the air heavy. "This gathering violates neutral ground laws," Maeve said calmly. "Stand down or face council justice." Ilara disengaged reluctantly, her arm hanging at an unnatural angle. "The Luna's awakening changes everything," Maeve continued. "She who woke the throne has the right to call the Great Hunt." "The Great Hunt?" Selene questioned. "An ancient right," another council member explained. "All packs hunt together for 3 nights. The alpha who claims the most dangerous prey wins the right to stand as the Luna's first, her primary protector, and mate." Selene's cheeks burned. "I don't need—" "You do," Maeve interrupted. "Ancient things stir in the deep forests. You'll need a first strength to face what's coming. The hunt chooses, not preference. The strongest proves themselves through deed, not word." Even Darius agreed to participate when threatened with council investigation. "The survivors of your northern wastes have been gathering," Lyra told Kieran. "Nearly 40 wolves, hiding in the mountain caves." As the group separated, Ilara caught Selene's arm. "You should have taken the deal, sister. What's coming will destroy everything you love." She paused. "Our mother didn't die of grief. The Order killed her when they learned she'd birthed 2 wolves." The revelation hit like a physical blow, but before Selene could respond, Ilara was gone. The throne room had never held so many alphas. They stood in a semicircle around the Moonfire throne, which blazed with silver light as if sensing the importance of this night. 3 nights of hunting, Elder Maeve announced. The forest has awakened things that have slept for generations. Hunt wisely. Celine's mark burned as another vision flashed, massive shadows moving between ancient trees, eyes like stars watching from the darkness. What did you see? Kieran asked quietly. Death, she whispered. So much death. She stepped forward, raising her hand. Moonfire gathered in her palm, forming into a silver arrow that she released into the night sky. It exploded like a star, cascading light across the forest. The hunt begins, Maeve declared. The alphas shifted as one, Tavian's midnight black, Kieran's silver white, Darius's scarred gray, and dozens of others. Only Alara remained in human form. Aren't you hunting? Celine asked. I don't need to prove myself to ancient traditions, Alara replied. I know exactly what I'm worth. By the first dawn, several alphas had returned with trophies, dire wolves, shadow cats, even a young wyvern. But neither Tavian nor Kieran had returned. They're competing against each other, Nora observed. They think whoever brings back the most impressive trophy wins you. It's not about winning me, Selene said, though her heart raced with worry. Then a horn sounded. Not triumph, but warning. Wolves fled rather than return triumphant. Through the morning mist came creatures of shadow and starlight. Void hunters, massive and impossible, with too many eyes and teeth that didn't belong in this reality. They haven't manifested in 300 years, Elder Maeve breathed. The creatures flowed over the walls like liquid nightmare. Guards shifted and attacked, but normal teeth and claws passed through them like smoke. Only Moonfire seemed to slow them. Celine didn't remember jumping from the battlements. Suddenly she was in the courtyard, Moonfire blazing from both hands. But there were too many. Kieran appeared, wounded, black corruption spreading from what looked like a bite. Tavian arrived in his massive wolf form, tearing into the creatures with devastating efficiency. They're between worlds, Nora called from the walls. Understanding flooded Celine. The throne hadn't just made her Luna, it had made her a bridge between realms. She pressed her palms together, focusing not on creating Moonfire, but on becoming it. The transformation was unlike shifting to wolf form. This was elemental, primal. She became living Moonfire, silver light with consciousness. In this form, she could see the creature's true nature. They were leaking through tears in reality. Moving on instinct, she began sealing the tears with threads of Moonfire. Each closure drained her, but the creatures retreated. When the last tear sealed, Celine collapsed back into human form, caught by both Tavian and Kieran, despite the latter's injuries. The hunt is suspended, Elder Maeve announced. If void hunters have returned, then the Ancient One stirs. The first wolf, the origin of our kind. Legend says only a true Luna can keep it sleeping or wake it fully. My mother has been crafting weapons designed to kill gods, Lyra offered. I know where they're kept. We're stronger together, Celine declared. All packs, working as one, under my command. One by one, the alphas knelt, even Darius, grudgingly. Kieran approached, the black corruption spreading up his arm. The prophecy Maeve mentioned. I've heard the full version. The Luna who wakes the Ancient One must choose between love and duty. One path saves the world but breaks her heart. The other saves her heart but damns everything. Both Tavian and I are part of it. Only one of us survives. Before she could respond, Nora's scream shattered the air. Her room held only a note pinned to the wall. The Order has your daughter. Come alone to the stone circle at midnight or she dies. Bring the Moonfire gift, all of it. Together, both alphas said immediately. Together, Selene lied, already planning to slip away alone. Midnight at the stone circle. Ancient monuments hummed with dark energy, wolfsbane poison thick enough to kill instantly. I knew you'd come alone. Alara emerged from shadow. Where is Nora? Guards dragged her daughter forward, bound in silver chains, Moonfire sputtering weakly. Sarah Vane appeared with a crystalline device pulsing with hungry darkness. The legendary Luna, trading power for a child. How disappointingly human. Let her go, and I'll give you what you want, Selene said. Oh, you'll give us everything regardless. Sarah raised the device. This will drain every drop of Moonfire from your body, then your daughter's. With that power, we can finally purge this world of the wolf plague. That wasn't our deal, Alara protested. Animals don't make deals with humans. Sarah cut her off. They submit, or die. The device activated and agony hit Selene. Moonfire poured from her in streams, drawn into the hungry crystal. Then howls, dozens of them. Tavian and Kieran burst into the circle with their packs, but collapsed instantly from the wolfsbane. No wolf can survive here, Sarah laughed, but Selene still stood. I'm not just a wolf anymore. The Moonfire reversed, slamming back into her body. The crystal shattered. The Luna is the bridge between all worlds. Power erupted, ancient, primal. The wolfsbane burned away like mist. In the chaos, Sarah drove a silver blade into Alara's chest. I'm sorry. Alara gasped to Selene. The Ancient One isn't evil, just lost. Alone. It needs... She died. Selene's grief roared out as Moonfire, sending everyone stumbling. The ground cracked, glowing purple. Through came something impossible, a wolf the size of a mountain made of stars and void. Luna, it spoke in her mind. The world forgot the covenant. Wolves were created to guard the boundary between worlds. Choose. Let me fade, and wolves die slowly, or accept the renewed covenant. She saw herself transformed, forever changed, forever apart. She saw Tavian chosen as her mate through the renewed covenant, Kieran forever friend. She saw Nora leading a new generation. She saw peace. I accept the covenant. Power flooded through her, transformative. She became the Luna Prime, silver white hair, permanently golden eyes, Moonfire tattoos covering her skin. The mate bond snapped into place with Tavian, natural, right, chosen by compatible souls. She met Kieran's silver gaze and saw understanding, acceptance. The Ancient One faded, satisfied. The stone circle now thrummed with protective energy. 6 months later, Selene stood on the balcony watching wolves and humans working together to rebuild. Progress was visible everywhere. The council arrives today, Tavian said, hand finding hers. Plus, order representatives. Sarah Vane was forced to negotiate. Any regrets? He asked. She thought of Kieran, rebuilding his pack, but visiting often as a treasured friend. Of Alara, buried with honors. Of being forever changed. No, she said. This is what I was meant to be. The Moonfire throne pulsed in response, a beacon that would never fade again. The Luna had awakened, and the world would never be the same.